Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. What we're going to work on today is this C starter. I got nothing here. Unfortunately, a lot of all-terrain vehicle starters will seize up from just sitting around. They could be on an all-terrain vehicle working one day and be dead the next, or you can remove them for storage for future use. Once again, functional one day, dead the next. The clearances in here aren't all that big, so it doesn't take much rust to lock them up. Let me show you. Alright, the first thing you need to do is take off that snap ring, snap ring pliers. I have a tendency to pry them off with a screwdriver. Then once again, a pair of Phillips heads gets these long ones out. And what you're going to want to do is take off the cap first. Some people want to get ahead, so you don't want to just tear it out of the body. You want to take the cap off this side first. So here we go, right? Not difficult to spin these out. Once you break them loose, you can even turn them out by hand. If you have any trouble getting these to come loose, just in case the Phillips are boogered up a little bit, a lot of times you could grab this with like vice grips and get it started, and then finish spinning it out with the Phillips head, right? The big trick with all this is not to make too much of a mess, right? You might want to rebuild it again in the future, or whoever ends up with this later might want to rebuild it. By the way, this was boogered up a bit, so I had to clean it up to get the gear to come off. So the top slid right off, no problem there. And what I like to do is just kind of stack things the way I found them. That way it all goes together again, right? Just as I found it. There you are. Now comes this part. I normally try to get the bottom loose, then come back to this. And sometimes, even when you get the bottom loose, you gotta tap this out gently because it's rusted right up against the windings. So the back came right off. Smelled burned a little bit. And you could see that we didn't have to mess with this, right? You really want to kind of do your best not to mess where that stud comes through. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a socket to protect this, and I'm going to very gently tap it, and hopefully it comes out of there without too much trouble, right? Because it is it's rusted in there pretty good. So I put a socket over the end of it to protect it. I gave it a couple of taps down, and you see right there and right there, the brushes are about to come out. Just make sure that you don't lose them. Kind of cover with your hand. Now that things are loose, right, you could see I got it all free. The brushes are still intact and everything is moving. As a matter of fact, I could pull that right out of there, and you can see how rusty it's gotten. There's a large surface area, and this is very tight within the board to the magnets. So any rust on here at all, and you guys could see there's plenty, it just stops this dead. As you're trying to clean this out, be careful. You really don't want to scrape in between the poles of the armature, because you could break a wire or bare insulation or make a mess of it. Also, just looking in there, you got to clean that up a little bit. I normally just use a little bit of sandpaper, right? It cleans right up easily, and you'd be surprised how well it works. Once you clean things up inside also, right, careful where the wires attached both to the coils, the outside stator coils, and the inside armature coils down around there. So once you clean everything up, slide it right in, and look at this, it spins. Now on this side, you just kind of push the brushes back into the holders, and that'll let you slide the armature all the way in where it belongs. You guys could see things are in place. The brushes are spring loaded up against the armature there. Don't forget the little washers. That goes on. Then the end cap goes on. And the end cap goes on, and there's a little, you'll feel it click into place. It's got a certain place it needs to be. A lot of times on the bearing, I put like a little liquid graphite there. Not too much, right? You don't want to get the brushes affected. But here and off on this end also, just to make everything spin as easily as it can, right? So no big deal. You guys could put the cap on. I'm sure you'll get that sorted. Okay, here we are. Turns freely, which is a great thing. What you could also do, by the way, and it never hurts, put a little line here, a little line there, a little line here, and a little line there before you take it all apart. So everything, you know, goes together just as it should. Okay, here we go. It's going to jump a little bit. I also don't recommend spinning it all the way up and letting it run there. Some of these without a load on them, things could break inside. The centrifugal forces could pull the pulleys apart and so forth. So this was quite the successful situation. This particular starter happens to go on the ATC200ES or the TRX200. There's no aftermarket starter. So if you can't fix your old one, you're stuck buying a used one through eBay, if that's your choice.